Hello, everybody, and welcome to Help Me Pivot, how to turn fear into confidence that creates cash. Today, I have with me Theresa Marie Vigarino. I don't know if I pronounced
it. You did
I
it.
got it.
One of the few.
She is a soul essence alchemist. She is an author, a certified life coach, and a motivational speaker, spiritual advisor. So she is going to talk to us about how to turn things around right now and how to step into a mode of creation. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure for me to be able to provide some value for your audience, and you know, we're all in this together, and everyone is feeling a lot of this emotional ebbing and flowing, and let's face it, these are unprecedented times. However, we do know that change is always inevitable. We do know that these upheavals that we have, that they really clear the way for transformation.
Yes, yes.
Globally, domestically, here in the States, around the world, and in the individual.
So you mentioned clear the way, right? Yeah. So talk to us about, there's a lot of stuff coming up, right now. A lot of unrest, and you know, we're slowly opening up again, then we might be closing down again. So I see a lot of stuff coming up. People are, some of us are getting angry, impatient. Yeah. So, and we are worried about money. So how do we transform right now?
And that's a big thing, because we've never had to navigate this before as a culture, as a society, as a global community. And so to be able to enter into what I like to call the quantum field. So we have these emotions. Let me backtrack a little bit. So we have this emotional triggering and response. So it's an indicator of the work that we need to do inside ourselves. If there's ever an outside influence that causes us to feel insecure, fearful, trepidation, dread, all of that, then we know that we still have that within ourselves somewhere, that somewhere along the line we've been in fear, somewhere along the line we've been in trepidation, and we felt insecure about just living in life. And this isn't platitudes, right? Like, because what is inside is what's reflected in our life. And so if you're feeling tremendous fear and unsure about the future, then it's something that's deeply wired within you, and it's an opportunity for you to address it. And say, you know, if I'm living in fear, then I'm feeling disempowered. Then I feel like others have power over me. That my life, that I'm not a creative source of brilliant ideas, and, you know, pivoting into, maybe it's a heart desire. Maybe now's the time that, you know, you can take stock of your life and say, I really don't like this direction. I really want to change things. This is a wonderful pause and opportunity for everyone to really filter out what you want, what you don't want, and to start taking some action steps to the life that you'd rather create. And truly, creativity is a direct correlation to the source of all things. It is a creative energy that when you're in alignment with it, your ideas flow, doors open, you know, opportunities and supernatural blessings just flow to you. And I'd love for everyone to just take some time to believe that you're safe, you're protected, that all is well, and to firmly root yourself in your present life right now. Because right now, you and I are fine right now. Right?
Yes.
And really, we've got the air in our lungs and the beat on our heart. And we're alive. And that is powerful. Just focusing on that for a minute. I'm alive is probably the two most powerful words we can say. I'm alive.
So that's beautiful. So give us some steps, right? You just mentioned being in that creative flow. Give us
Mhm.
some steps on how do I get into that zone?
Well, the first step is really becoming present in the body and with your mind. So the mind is going to want to race because we've never experienced this before. Okay, as a society, right? We've never been on lockdown. We've never had a pandemic to this degree. We've never experienced this. And so what happens in the brain is that the brain is looking around and around and around for memories of being in this situation before. And because it doesn't have it, it automatically triggers fear and insecurity within us. So it's important for us, the work that we do is to recognize by maybe taking the observer global perspective in that, oh, this fear is my brain is putting me on alert because we've never been down this road before. And if you've never been down this road before, the brain, this part of the brain, the amygdala, automatically wants to put you in a state of being on guard and of fear.
Yes.
Because it's uncharted territory. Now, you can have these same feelings when you pivot in your career. You can have these same feelings when you try a new relationship. You can have these same feelings like, let's say you want to give your first speech. It's the brain is looking for a frame of reference. And when it cannot find it, it will pull up all kinds of things of fear. And it's literally to keep you safe. You know, we don't have to run away from saber-toothed tigers anymore. So I feel like there's this hyperactivity for emotional well-being that happens in the brain. And so, you know, feeling the fear is normal. Feeling this sense of insecurity right now is normal from the human experience. Recognize it, try not to resist it. There's no point in pushing something away and repressing how you really feel because it stays and it festers. So just, you know, acknowledge it. Okay, I feel afraid that my business isn't going to make money again or whatever the case may be. I'm afraid I'm going to get sick. I'm afraid I'm going to end up in the hospital, right? So there's a lot of that going on. I'm afraid, you know, I'm afraid that it's going to be pandemonium and people running around with guns. I mean, there's some people that are afraid of that right now. There's so much to be afraid of, but if you can say, okay, this is what I'm afraid of, and you can put some language to it, then it becomes a little bit smaller rather than it's just this energy. And then you can say, but wait a minute. So the self-talk is going to be important. I've lived up until now. I'm going to keep living. I'm going to be okay. And really allowing that to amplify inside your body. So it's really important, you know, we're in the headspace a lot, but it's really important to bring our energy back into our bodies right now. And to allow the feelings to come up so that you can clear them out and you can reframe it. And so looking at this as an opportunity, when doors close, something else is opening. That is a platitude, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. So how do I reframe? So I hear you, what I heard you say is clear, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, be aware, right? Be aware of what emotion comes up and clear your space, right? And then, so what is the next step? So be aware, clear, and then reframe. You said reframe. So
reframe your circumstances or your beliefs around what's happening, because truly it's subjective. It's perception. And so some people are looking at this as like, oh, you know, maybe they have more income in the bank or what have you. And they're like, wow, this is a great time for me to, you know, do that creative project I've always wanted, or spend more time with my family that I've not been able to. There are some that are taking advantage of the situation right now and enjoying this time that we are, you know, obviously being more still. Stillness is really a great gift because we're able to really go in and fine tune. So the reframing really is flipping it on its head. And saying, you know what, I'm going to believe. Because what we believe is what shows evidence in our reality. because a belief believed long enough becomes an anatomical fact in the brain. It becomes hardwired. So if you're focusing on, oh my gosh, my life is dwindling down and it's, this horrible thing is happening, I'm gonna lose my business, then that focus becomes amplified because the emotion is there. And the brain is doing its job, and it's creating lights and creating a network so that that becomes a belief system, and that is what shows up in your reality. So to believe that you're going to make it through this, to believe that your best life is still happening, to believe that you are powerful creator of your personal experience. When you believe that and you go all in, and I'm saying dive in the deep end on your beliefs, double down on your beliefs.
I love that. Double down. How do I double down? Tell me, how do I double down?
Well, really, I will tell you. And we'll offer this for your audience. There is a neuroscience hack or exercise. Actually, it's an exercise that was given to me by one of my wonderful mentors, Dr. David Kruger, who's a world-renowned neuroscientist that mentored me. And a great friend of mine. I love him. You can look him up, mentorpath.com. I always do that. He doesn't even know I can tell him. When we have a trigger, okay, which we know is such as, oh my gosh, I lost all my clients. How am I going to make a living? And we go down this negative response of fear. And that really will take us to our most primal fear of survival, of abandonment, of all of it, right? All of those primal fears that we hold sometimes. So when you have that trigger, we usually have like a very fast response in our thinking and then in our emotional body. And so identifying what the trigger is. My business isn't working out. When you think about your business, oh my gosh, I don't have any clients. Oh no, I'm going to be poor. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get evicted, and I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that. And then you usually go into depression, grief, despair, hopelessness, all of those negative emotions, which we know has an impact on what we experience because we're putting out negativity. We draw that back to ourselves. So the work is really knowing what the trigger is and creating a whole new story about it. Fear of my business not working out. Well, this is what I've been feeling when I think this way, but you know what? I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to think this way because it leads to nowhere good. And so what's interesting, I've done this exercise with probably 10,000 people. What is fascinating to me is that the new story that you write, your new ideal response to that trigger, no matter what the subject matter, the words and the feelings and the desires are the same for everyone. We want peace. We want abundance. We want joy. We want hopefulness. We want exuberance and excitement and vitality and all of this and happiness. So it's really important that we know what we're triggered in. We identify that. And then we're clear about the normal way we respond to it in our brain and in our body. And then what would be our ideal response? And that is what you stick to like glue. And I give a lot of little helpful hints in the program we're going to give away on how to do it. Because usually what happens is when people go to the ideal response, it's hard for them to even think of a word because the brain is looking around for this trigger, and how you normally respond, it doesn't have a frame of reference for the new response. So you have to deliberately, creatively, with your commitment and your belief that you are a deliberate, powerful creator here on purpose, for a purpose, and you go all in on who you are.
And would it help if I journal about it? Because I remember doing an exercise where, what are my triggers? And then what do I know to be true, however, right? And then changing the story, right? And then journaling that story and then putting a feeling, of course, behind that story, and that would be a beautiful reframe, right? Is that something?
It is.
That,
It is. Visualization helps because your brain is going to want to default to the old story. So this exercise is a writing exercise. So that's what's so good about it. And it's important that you don't type it, that it's written with your hand, because it does something neuroscientifically. It will help create the lights that make up the neural pathway that becomes the network of your new belief system.
Beautiful. So what's my next step? What else? What other advice would you have for our audience?
I believe that really connecting to your inner self. Like right now, I think inner child healing is really important because this fear that people are having, remember, if we don't already have fear, we wouldn't feel it. It's triggering something even deeper. Maybe when you were growing up, like for me, you know, we struggled for money growing up. There was a fear of money all the time, every month. How are they going to make ends meet? And I would witness this as a little girl. I ended up becoming afraid of money. You have a fear of money, you're not going to have any. So I've been there.
Yes.
You will repel it from yourself, or it'll go through your fingers like, you know, poop through a goose. Right? So not to be blatant, but that's what happens with that. But so identifying your emotional state is going to be critical, and what you're thinking. And when you really detach from the chatter of the mind, because the mind will keep you prisoner or lead you to freedom. So really becoming aware of what your mind patterns are, what your belief systems are, and how you can tell is by what's showing up or not.
So people do worry about money right now. Let's talk about money for a minute.
Yeah. So from a spiritual perspective, abundance. So the important thing is to understand that we're magnetized, right? Humans, everything on earth has an energy, a pulse. You look under anything under a microscope and it vibrates. So we're vibratory beings. And what we believe, what we think, becomes part of what we feel and how we speak, and which really drives our behavior. Also, it's in our field. You know, I tell people that, you know, this is spiritual teaching. I'm sure a lot of your audience knows this. Have you ever been standing somewhere and you know someone's standing behind you even though you couldn't hear them?
Yes.
They've stepped into your auric field, your electromagnetic field that you're emitting. And so abundance is an energy. Money is the dollar bills are just representation of the energy of abundance. You could literally live in a cave and feel like you have it all. That's the key. You know, we keep looking outside of ourselves, and I'm not, you know, saying that money isn't important. It is. That's how we pay our bills and buy our food and, you know, have a roof over our head. But when we can, you know, just separate for a minute the brass taxes of the checkbook and the unemployment coming in maybe, and we focus on what money really is. Money is the manifestation of an energy. The energy of abundance is where you feel full. So it's really important to have that feeling that you're not lacking, that you have this feeling of connection to the divine, to the source of all things, to the energy of abundance, because that is what emits from you. And money can come and resources can come in unlimited ways. So believing that, and there's all kinds of things wrapped up in this. What you feel you deserve, your self-value, your worth. I mean, we can like go down a rabbit hole on deserve, right, and worthiness and lovability and all of that. But for the sake of this, just aligning with, even if it's in your brain's rationalizing, going, wait a minute, that's just too out there, too woo-woo, whatever. Even if just a smidgen, you can believe in a possibility that abundance comes from an energy and a connection to it and an openness of receiving and allowing it to flow through you. Just for an experiment, I tell people, if it's new, see what happens.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I also believe there should be a flow of giving and receiving, right? So when you are in that flow,
Yes.
abundance comes to you in all ways.
Always. All gifts. I mean, we received a gift recently, and I have a charity, and I have worked my tail off raising money because it's a hard time to raise money right now for American children with No Kid Hungry, but in the bush in South Africa with orphans and villages in South America in the Peruvian Amazon, where I travel to quite often. So, I mean, that has been my thing more than attracting clients. It was me giving right now because people have it so much worse than me. And I think if we all, or I know that if we all lived our life of what can I do to serve, you have walked into the energy of abundance.
Absolutely. And this series, My Passion Project, that's a gift also, because, and you're part of that gift, because we are spreading all kinds of beautiful messages to everybody about how to deal with these uncertain times.
Yeah.
So I have one last question for you.
Yes.
I asked that of all my speakers. So what message would the 80-year-old Theresa have for the current or the present Theresa, your present self?
You're doing fine, just like you are. Just keep going. You're doing fine. I always feel like an underachiever. And that's work I have to do on myself. I never feel like I've done enough. I always feel like there's more, and I get really burdened by it. Like I'm not doing good enough in my life. I'm not making a big enough of an impact. I should be more successful, whatever. I've got some of those stories too. My 80-year-old self would be like, girl, you're doing just fine.
That's beautiful. You're doing just fine. I love it. Love it. That's an amazing message. So how can people find you? And
I'm everywhere. TheresaVigarino.com is my healing website. I also have momshouseforchildren.org. That's our global nonprofit. I'm on Facebook, Twitter. I'm everywhere, Theresa Vigarino. So I'm easy to spot.
And what kind of tools do you have? You mentioned earlier that you have some amazing tools to help people out right now.
I do. I'm going to gift you an 8-week audio course for your audience that comes with a workbook and meditations and lessons and that neuroscience exercise that I described. And it's called Your Life by Design, Manifest the Miraculous. And I believe that we're all miracles and we are entitled to miracles, and we just have to believe. That's the most important thing, is to believe. Believe you're fine. Believe everything is going to turn out okay. Even if we have loved ones that have crossed over.
Yes.
Having faith that, this was part of a divine plan. And that's hard for people to stomach right now. But it's the way it's nature. And there are no accidents. So living in that deep, profound place of belief and connectivity to source, to spirit, and to one another. We're all in this together.
Thank you so much. Yes, we are all in this together. And thank you for that amazing gift. And I can't wait to download that course. And thanks for being on this show. And I know our paths will cross again. Thank you, Theresa.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
God bless you.